was a crime that broke the city's heart. Now the suspects in the Junior Guzman Feliz murder case are facing justice and the evidence. Pix 11's Mary Murphy takes you inside the Junior trial.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us as we begin week 4 of the Junior trial. We're starting the week on a Tuesday because yesterday, Monday, was the Memorial Day holiday, so there was no court. And let me recap some of what happened today. I know a lot of you are interested in Junior's mother, who had what she called a nervous breakdown on Thursday, the last day of court. She left screaming. She almost had to be carried out by the court officers because she said she saw this footage she had never seen before of her son hiding under a sink, desperately trying to elude gang members who were trying to get through this partition that was locked until someone in the bodega opened it and got to Junior. She was so upset and left the court because she had to be carried out and has not been back. I spoke to Miss Leandra Feliz this morning. I spoke to her this afternoon. She went to work today, but she basically said she's emotionally drained and she doesn't know when she can come back. She doesn't know if she can keep hearing the same things over and over from what's on that bodega footage, analysis by not only the prosecutors but by defense attorneys who do slow motion on the video. It's just been too much. Junior's father briefly appeared in court today. I got a little bit of footage of him as they were breaking for lunch. There is Lisandro Guzman leaving with some detectives who always escort him to and from court. He politely waved at us when he came in for just a little bit of time today. I believe it was when one of the main witnesses was on the stand. He was not here all of last week when the star witness, Kevin Alvarez, testified. That might have been deliberate. I can't speak for him, but I know he might have been upset by some of what Kevin Alvarez had to say, because certainly Junior's mother was upset. So let me talk about one of the main pieces of testimony that we heard today. It involves Elvin Garcia. His girlfriend was on the stand. Her name, Udelvi Mena. She's 21 years old. She said she's a college student studying medicine. And she was dating him, she said, last June, when he called her up late June 20th and said, please come over to my house. He went over there. She went over there. And she said she saw a hole in his hand. And so he asked her to go to the doctor. They took a cab to Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in Manhattan. She said they didn't talk much, but she said he created a story that they were to tell the police if there were questions asked. And the story was that he had gotten into a fight with some guys in a park in Manhattan over her. So police did show up at the hospital, and first he gave that story, and then Udelvi Mena said she was questioned and she stuck with the story. But then guess what happened? She said the next day, they were watching footage together. It's not clear whether it was on social media or on television, but it was that infamous footage from the bodega showing the attack on Junior. Let's show Elvin Garcia again, because she said that he actually pointed to the footage that was on the screen. And here's the quote. He said that was me. Basically, here's the exact quote. He told me that was him, and he pointed to this image. He had some kind of a shirt or a covering on his face, and she basically said right on the stand, he gave it up, that he was on the scene, that he was one of the 5 guys who attacked Junior. She said after that, on the 22nd of June, they went to Philadelphia and stayed with Elvin Garcia's uncle for 2 days, and then they came back on June 24th, and apparently the police were calling Elvin Garcia by this point, told him to go to Manhattan to one of the precincts there. She said that she was taken into a separate room, and Elvin Garcia, his own room. The next thing she knows, she heard that he went to a precinct in the Bronx on Webster Avenue, and we know that he was then arrested that week and charged with murder in the first degree. So you could tell that she was not excited about being on the stand. She was very uncomfortable. She's a very thin girl. She had jeans and some kind of a top on, hair in a ponytail, glasses. Said she's studying medicine in college, but last April of 2018, she said she started dating Elvin Garcia. She said she knew that he was a member of the gang, the Trinitarios, and she said she had met some of the other guys in the gang. I don't want to make too much noise with my papers, but in terms of that alibi that he had allegedly come up with, about the fight in the park. Supposedly they were to say that 3 men were involved in the fight, and that's how he got stabbed. But the way she testified on the stand, she said he had a hole. Oh, you missed my gesture there. She said that he had a hole, if Andrea could come back, a hole right through his hand, going from the top of the hand to the palm, and that he definitely wanted to get stitches, and they did get stitches at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. She also said she knew Manuel Rivera, one of the other defendants, from a party. The prosecutors have said that Manuel Rivera accidentally stabbed Elvin Garcia during the frenzied attack on Junior. So this was damaging testimony from Garcia's girlfriend. I got the sense that she was kind of forced into doing this. I don't have independent knowledge of that, but she seemed very uncomfortable. I get the sense that if there was a threat that she could be brought to trial herself for perjury because she gave false information, perhaps that's what led her to testify and take the stand. But she seemed very uncomfortable, yet she identified Elvin Garcia in court as her boyfriend. She pointed him out. She said the man who's wearing the dark-colored suit. And one of the key pieces of testimony was that they saw this footage together, the infamous surveillance footage, and that he said that he was one of the people in the attack. And this was a day after he allegedly told this other story to the cops about getting in a fight over his girl in Manhattan, in a different borough. She talked about some of the other people that are going to go on trial in the next case for murder in the second degree. She mentioned Menor, and that apparently is Danelle Fernandez. So she said she had seen him around Elvin Garcia's house when she went to go and take him to the doctor. Let me tell you some of the other stuff that went on today. We waited nearly 3 hours for the courtroom doors to open. It was an incredible delay, and we were like, what's going on? Well, we finally found out what was going on. I have some footage of the defense attorneys. There are 5 of them. So they apparently spent some time talking to their clients because 2 of them did not want to appear in court, and they basically did not. The jury was not told about why they weren't there. Jose Muniz, he basically excluded himself from the court testimony today, and so did one of the other defendants, Antonio Rodriguez Hernandez Santiago. It's not clear why they didn't want to be there, but they didn't want to be in court. And there's the prosecutor, Morgan Dolan. She brought some other witnesses on the stand aside from Elvin Garcia's girlfriend. They had some witnesses from the crime scene unit talking about some of the evidence that they had collected. I'm trying to refresh our tablet here to see if you are sending me any questions, because so many of you are writing to me not only on Facebook. There's a huge amount of you that are writing to me on Instagram. I'm having a little problem with my tablet, but I'm going to check on my own trusty cell phone, which always seems to come through for me. We already have 300 comments tonight, and of course they're making some noise here on my cell phone. One person, Diana Cruz, said, good for her. I think she's referring to Elvin Garcia's girlfriend. Jessica Ars wrote, so sad that in New York it's so easy to get away with murder. I pray this is not the case here. Well, we're still in the middle of the trial. We're not sure how many witnesses are left for the prosecution, but there are still some so-called star witnesses left who have yet to testify. Carlos Rivera Pierce wrote, unfortunately, these devils have rights, and that's their right. He's referring to some of the defendants not showing up today. They have that right, and the judge basically said they excluded themselves from being in court, and apparently they made some kind of a video that was being shown to the other defense attorneys. But the jury was not told in court about the defendants that were missing. I'm sure they noticed the 11 women and 1 man on the jury. I'm sure they noticed that 2 guys were missing, but all 5 defense attorneys remain. There's Jose Muniz, the so-called machete man, who was wearing the white tank top, according to some of the testimony we've heard, and then the other suspect, we call him Antonio. Neither of them were there today, charged with murder 1 in Junior's death last June 20th. More of you writing justice for Junior. They said something about California. I'm not sure why California is being brought in. As then someone else, Margie Jaramilla Oliver, said, why isn't it mandatory for them to be in court? Another person said, I'd give her jail time as well, I guess referring to the witness, but, maybe the woman was intimidated. Maybe she was frightened. But it just seems like such a juxtaposition. She's in college studying medicine, yet she's knowingly going out with a gang member. I'm trying to figure that one out. Let me see what else I have for you. Okay, so Elvin Garcia's girlfriend was sort of the big headline today. But there was other information that came out from detectives that testified from the crime scene unit. Let's bring up some footage of Diego Suero, the alleged leader of the Los Shures set of the Trinitarios. The crime scene unit detectives testified that they found a knife in a lot next to his apartment building on Boston Road. And this was about 15 days after Junior was murdered. But I think some information was given to detectives that a knife could be found in a lot that used to be a messed up lot right next to his apartment building. But when the detectives got there, it was very clear. And they found this knife that looks like a kitchen knife to me. And it was about 4.5, 5 inches long, the blade. And I think it had been broken in half. But no DNA evidence was retrieved from the knife. And the detective brought it out on the stand that there are any number of elements that could wipe away genetic material. Apparently there was a heavy rain in the day or days after Junior was killed, and rain can mess up genetic material. Also, if it's very, very hot, so I'm not quite sure what the temperature was in the days after Junior was murdered, but something about the heat can also mess with genetic material. So there was no DNA apparently retrieved from that knife, but it was brought into evidence because it was found in the lot right next to the alleged gang leader, Diego Suero, who is charged with murder in the second degree for allegedly plotting to go after rivals from Sunset. And Junior was mistakenly thought to be a rival, and that's why that chase ensued involving 4 cars. A lot of the men jumped out of the cars. The last leg of the chase, the last block, before the Bodega. One other thing, I'm mentioning cars. There are the cars. There were a couple of detectives who testified about the black Acura that was swabbed for DNA and also the white Acura. And what came out today was apparently the white Acura, that's what I heard on the stand, was in the possession of Michael Reyes, who was supposed to be the main cooperating witness in this case. He has not taken the stand yet. But according to what one detective said today from crime scene, they secured this car in early July. And the white Acura, which is where Junior's blood was found on the rear door, that's according to the criminalist who testified early in the trial, the white Acura, they said, was in the possession of Michael Reyes, who we're waiting for him to come on the stand. He will be a very, very big witness. And, we know that last week, Kevin Alvarez was the star, and all of you really were very, very tuned in to any kind of coverage we had on Kevin Alvarez. And I would say that Michael Sosa Reyes will be the next big witness. Kevin Alvarez, we told you last week, had made a plea agreement with the Bronx DA's office. He pleaded guilty to manslaughter 1 and conspiracy in the 4th degree. And if he testifies truthfully in this and future trials, he said on the stand that the manslaughter 1 charge will probably be withdrawn and that he would get time served on the conspiracy charge. A lot of people didn't understand that. How was that allowed? He was the one who dragged Junior out of the Bodega. But as one of my law enforcement experts explained last week, if you're dealing with a gang situation and there are 15 defendants and you don't have anyone identifying who was on the scene taking part in a vicious attack, you often have to make a deal with someone. You need these people identified. So Kevin Alvarez, from all accounts, did not have a weapon and did not attack Junior with a weapon. And apparently the police and prosecutors felt that he offered valuable information in terms of identifications of the people who actually did the stabbing. And he was a big witness last week, and I know you were all engrossed in his testimony. And now we're waiting for some of the other big witnesses. So tomorrow, we are not expecting any testimony. The jury voted. It does not want to come in on Wednesdays. That was sort of what was going on from the beginning. The judge was using Wednesday to deal with other court matters Because the trial has been progressing very slowly, the judge kind of wanted to move things along a little faster, and he suggested that maybe the jury start coming in on Wednesdays and get some of the testimony done. But the jurors took a vote and do not want to come in on Wednesdays. I guess it's a very tough trial to sit through. So Tuesday this week, we're coming back on Thursday and Friday, and I hope to have a recap for you on Friday. And just to recap once again about Junior's mother, we have a photo of her, very touching photo. Well, that's Dad. Dad was in, that's okay. You could have kept it up there, Andrea. Junior's mom, I spoke to her multiple times since she got so upset last week, and she was not ready to come back today. Don't know when she'll come back, but of course I will let you know when she's ready and when I see her in court, and we'll stand by to see who the next witness is. I'll be back on Thursday, and I thank all of you for joining me along this journey for the Junior trial, and all of us at Pix 11. Andrea Cavalier is our producer. She's been with me from the beginning since last year, putting so many of these stories up on the web, on pix11.com, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we have a team here that's very committed to the Junior coverage, and so we all bring it to you, and thank you for keeping up with us. And I'll see you the next time. I'll be back in court on Thursday and then back here in the studio Friday night. Thanks again, and have a good night.